can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. F it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
We are indeed doing it live, everybody. Hello, Carly, Shad Zaman. Hello, guys. Welcome in. Thanks for being here. Yeah, we are hanging out today. It's me and Jim from Fantasy for the Ages.
What's up?
And yeah, it's been way too long since you and I have been on a piece of content together. I think the last time was whenever we did the last Stormlight book.
I think so.
I think that was the last time that we were on a.
And it's been so long. I don't remember which book that was. Was it Oathbringer?
That was Oathbringer.
All right.
And luckily I found a good like story recap on YouTube. And so I'm planning on, re-listening to the recap, because I've listened to the recap a couple times now. It's been so long. I've tried to remind myself of the story a couple times now. Yeah, so I'm gonna listen to that again and then read what is it? Rhythm of War. Yeah.
My favorite of the 5.
Is it? Okay.
And that is not a popular opinion. A lot of people like Oathbringer.
Yeah, well, I think, as you know, I didn't like Oathbringer, and based on what you were saying about Rhythm of War, I think I would hold the same opinion as you. So
yeah, knowing you weren't so hot on Oathbringer, I'm kind of cringing from when you get to Wind and Truth, my friend.
Yeah, I've been so nervous about Wind and Truth, and I wonder if I've subconsciously kind of distanced myself from Stormlight, because when we did the episode of Oathbringer, Wind and Truth had just come out that weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it got such mixed reviews that I think subconsciously I was like, all right, I don't feel the need to rush towards Wind and Truth. If it had come out to unanimous praise, maybe I would have.
Mixed reviews is pretty generous, I'm feeling like.
Yeah, I don't think people liked it.
Loved it, but it's like 20% loved it. And 80% feel, about 60% felt disappointed. And the other 20% was, what did you do, Brandon?
Oh man,
pretty strong feelings. Yeah.
Did they think that he just messed up the characters, or?
Oh, that would be a whole nother podcast.
Okay,
for us to get into.
That's fair.
But yeah, I mean, there's introductions of certain themes and elements with characters that seem to come out of nowhere.
And
there's a definite feel that the book needed to be edited more. That there's just he wasn't reined in enough like he should.
Right.
Honestly, as with some of the others, there's numerous storylines in the book, and there's only one that I really enjoyed. My son claimed it was his favorite, but Zach pretty much likes Wind and Truth. Okay, but his favorite one is the only one that I kind of enjoyed.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, Carly says, I know a handful of people who read it and got rid of all the series books they owned. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but Sanderson will survive this. I haven't touched anything else of Sanderson since then. I've kind of nothing
kind of burnt out a little bit.
I'm like, maybe I'll keep going. We'll see.
Yeah.
There's so much else to read.
Right. Well, I think when an author gets so big, they, everybody around him, I'm sure, is just a yes man at this point, because
yes, Mr. Sanderson, whatever you say, Mr. Sanderson.
Right.
Tea, Mr. Sanderson.
Right. And it's even they didn't become great by not having somebody critique their work and
Sure.
edit it strongly and all that. Like even the great authors still need someone to critique them and to do a proper beta read and a proper editorial and all that. But yeah, good to see people in the chat here.
Yeah.
Shad says, how are you both doing? Which I think is a great question because it's been way too long since you and I have been on a podcast together. How are you doing, Jim? What is new with you? What's going on with you and your life or your reading or whatever?
I'm doing well. I'm still churning away at my TBR. It hasn't gotten any shorter because, as you understand, I keep adding more books than I read, even though I'm reading a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on pace to hit 100 books again this year, and
Wow.
still I keep putting new ones on. But yeah, having a good time. Zach and I still get together about every other weekend to do some episodes for Fantasy for the
Nice.
Ages together. But the rest of the time, it's just me. A lot of book
Yeah.
reviews and movie reviews, TV show reviews, all about fantasy, science fiction, horror. I did find
Yeah.
a new horror author recently that I'm really jazzed about. I don't know if you've heard of Stephen Graham Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around about 20 some years putting books out, but I
Yeah.
just found him. He's amazing.
Yeah.
So I've downloaded, I'm doing his stuff on Audible, and I've downloaded a ton of his content now and just
Oh, cool.
churning through it. Yeah.
Which book of his are you working through?
Well, right now I'm doing kind of his first horror, which was Demon Theory.
Okay.
But I started with the Indian Lake trilogy that just blew my mind. It was
Really? Okay.
so much fun, so well written.
Was
Deep
it scary?
themes. No.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, if you're fragile, sure,
Sure.
you might be scared. But it's kind of an homage to the slasher genre. And I
Uh-huh.
love slashers, 80s, 90s, and on the slasher film genre. I've watched so much of this stuff, and that makes this trilogy amazing. Yeah.
You know
I
what,
see
Carly?
put Buffalo Hunter. Yeah, that's on
Is
my
is
TBR.
that Stephen Graham
That's
Jones?
him. That's him.
Okay,
Yeah.
because somebody recommended this to me recently, and they were like, "You have to read this. It's so good."
It's one of his
And
most recent novels, and it's on my list. But I won't get to
okay,
it for a while now because I'm going back to the beginning. I want to understand the author and how he got to where he's at. But
yeah,
he hasn't written like 100 books. It's like
sure.
I've added like, I don't know, 15, 16 books to my TBR.
Yeah, I think somebody had told me that Buffalo Hunter was a vampire novel, but
Yep.
Native American.
Yes. And he is a Native American author.
Oh,
So
okay.
that figures prominently in many of his books, not all, but many. And he does write things outside of horror as well. But I think his most popular stuff is in the horror genre.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I've wanted to check that one out, and then also kind of in that Native American vibe. Did you ever read Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell?
I have not.
Okay, that is Gabe and my probably favorite horror story.
Ooh,
It is amazing. The audiobook is the way to do it
I
because
gotta
they
write this
do,
down.
yeah, they do something really special with the audio. Um, but yeah, it's a pretty, like, I would say popular book. And recently, Felix Blackwell uh, commented on our video that we did of it. And he was like, "Hey, somebody sent me this video and said that I should check it out. And I really enjoyed your guys' discussion. I would love to chat with you guys." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, please reach out." And so he sent us an email. And now we have an episode that we're putting together with him. I'm like, wow, he's like
Very cool.
yeah, I'm like, he's like a pretty popular, like up and coming author. I'm like, this is awesome. So I'm super excited to get to chat with
There
him.
you go. The other
Yeah.
thing I should say that I jumped into because Stephen Graham Jones gave him some love, but I also finally got into the Dungeon Crawler Carl series.
Oh
Matt
my
Dinniman,
gosh, we have to talk about
so
this.
much fun. I'm almost done with book 4 now. I'm just
Yep.
powering through each one. It's
Yep.
so easy to keep reading.
Yep.
I'm not doing the audiobooks because my son's going to do the audiobooks. So we're going to do content together with that different perspective. You know, I'm reading it and loving them. It's all good. But yes, everyone is telling me, Jim, you're making a terrible mistake. The audiobook is where it is. I can go back and do a second read on audio if I want. But that was our choice because I'm doing other things on audio. So I would have had to wait longer to fit.
So can you not do 2 audiobooks at the same time? Like if you're reading multiple books, can you not bounce between audiobooks?
I don't want to. I like to stay on, you know, I plan a track, you know, so I'll power through certain things on audio. I'll do different things on Kindle, and I don't like to mix them up.
Yeah. Dungeon Crawler Carl quickly became an obsession of mine.
I can understand.
Yeah. Sorry you didn't like it, Shad. I don't know. I don't know how you read it and don't like it. Yeah. So Carly, I have never liked lit RPG. I've been very outspoken on the channel about how much I hate lit RPG.
It's the first I've tried.
Yeah. And like I tried The Land, I tried He Who Fights with Monsters. It never clicked with me until I read Dungeon Crawler Carl. And the only reason I read DCC was because all of the big booktubers, Daniel Green, Captured in Words, Bookborn, Murphy Napier, they were all reading Dungeon Crawler Carl and loving it. And I'm like, okay, this has got to be something different here. And I started it and it was perfect for me. And you said you're closing in on the 4th book?
No, I'm almost done with book 4. And then we'll move right on to book 5. Yeah.
For me, I won't say anything about it, but for me, book 5 was by far the best in the series. It is so good. It is like it is like a major cut above everything else. So I'm really excited to see
for
what
these first 4 so far. Book 2 was the best for me. And Shad saying not liking it with only book 1. Well, book 1 is just kind of setting the table. It really takes off at book 2.
Yeah,
and book 3 was good, but book 2 was a little better. And I'm still feeling the same way with book 4 right now. It's like book 2 is just a little better. Nothing wrong with 3 or 4. Yeah. So I'm excited to hear what you said about book 5. That was good.
Oh, man, Shad, I don't know.
Oh, how can you not like that?
I don't know. Yeah, I think the AI is so good. He's so good.
It's the foot thing, isn't it?
It's the foot thing, and it's also like I just love his quippy. I think it's in book 1. It's either book 1 or 2 where, you know, he's picking up all these items and they have like all these big descriptions and stuff, and finally he picks up this thing called Mana Toast, and the AI says, "You've just received Mana Toast. It's a piece of toast, and when you eat it, it gives you mana. That's it. Fuck you." It's just like
Yep. And see, that's exactly what Shad does not like, those quips and stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy, Shad.
Is not for you. You made the right choice.
Yeah, that's a wild take.
Hey, but we all like what we like, and it's all cool.
Yeah, I love Dungeon Crawler Carl. Yeah, introduced me to Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. Okay,
Have you read that, Spencer?
No, I have not.
Oh, one of the best epic fantasy trilogies I've ever read.
I almost started Malice.
Faithful and the Fallen, John
Faithful
Gwynne.
and the Fallen, yep.
That's good. That's hard work reading Malice. It's a chunker.
Yeah.
But it's worth the effort.
Yeah. So yeah, what else have you been reading that would surprise me? Because I every now and then I see you pop up with something on Twitter, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's reading that. Has there been any other big name books?
Well, I don't know if
Like,
you saw go by in the chat, not big name, but I think you're a fan of Impact Winter. I did
oh
just do
yes, of
season
course.
3,
Yep.
finally got around to it. I'd done season 1 and 2 when they came out, and then
Yeah.
didn't even notice season 3 had come out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I got that, and I guess we don't have to wait too long for season 4. So
Yeah, it's coming soon. It's coming
I'll,
really soon.
yeah, I'll be jumping right on that because that's
Yeah,
really
I'm
exciting.
a big fan of those. Big fan of those.
Yep, I'm still powering through a lot of powering makes it sound bad. No, it's not powered. Still going through a lot of the Malazan books, and I know you haven't really gotten into Malazan at all,
Nah.
but oh my goodness, yeah, I'm a big fan, and I've read almost everything that's out there now, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. Um, After you get through Malazan Book of the Fallen, because
Yeah.
that's work. But then once you've got that under your belt, everything else is just delightful. It's a blast to go through.
Right.
I did read the most recent Shannara book, Gallifile,
Oh,
that
okay.
came out brand new back in March, and it'd been years. It'd been like since 2020 that anything had come out in Shannara. I've read it all. So this
Yeah.
came out, and I'm like, yes, I got to read this. And oh, that was really good. I didn't realize how much I missed this. Of course, Derek heard Malazan, got here just in time.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I'd throw in that I've read recently that really kind of stretching stuff,
Mhm.
the Haunting of Hill House, classic,
Oh,
1959. Shirley Jackson. Went and read that with Derek, who just jumped in, and Matt from
okay.
Go Read Books, and we did it together, and that was really good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Now, how
Yeah.
about you? What have you been reading lately?
So lately, some of the bigger name things that I've read have been I made my way all the way through Dungeon Crawler Carl, read all 7 that are out so far. And then The Devils by Joe Abercrombie.
Yeah, it's sitting out there waiting. Yeah,
Yeah,
you got it. And you enjoyed it?
I absolutely loved it. And what's funny is that I did not like the first Law trilogy. It just wasn't my thing like at all. Um
Oh,
which is really surprising because I'm into grimdark, but I have opinions on whether the first Law is actually grimdark or not.
so you didn't
Um
read books 4 through 9.
nope, I didn't read the second like
They are
sequel
all
trilogy.
better than the original trilogy.
Oh, okay.
But they're built on the
Interesting.
original trilogy. So I've read them all. I loved 4 through 9 much better than the first 3.
Interesting. Okay, I may have to check those out then because yeah, the first trilogy, like I didn't enjoy like anything with Dogman or any of those characters.
Okay.
And by the end of the trilogy, they like most of the chapters were their chapters and I was like I'm just like not I don't like these characters. Um but so I picked up The Devils because I did, while I was reading the first Law, I I liked his writing style. Like I liked the dialogue. Like anytime two people were in the middle of a conversation, I always loved that. So I'm like, I gotta try something else by him. And I picked up The Devils, and I would say the first half of was it was okay. Like it
Okay.
wasn't. I was like, this is fine. I don't feel like I want to stop reading or anything, but it's not like grabbing me really. And then sometime after that halfway mark, it just takes off like a rocket. And it is like probably one of my favorite things I've read this year. Like
Wow.
it is so good.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Is
yeah,
it
Carly,
a
I hope
standalone
you like it.
or
What?
is it the start of a series?
I think it's the start of a series. The way that it ended made me think that there would be more,
Okay. Well, then
for
see, I've
sure.
got time. I don't need to get to it right away. I can wait
Yeah,
till more books come out.
yeah. So yeah, I read that and just absolutely
Yes.
loved it. The
Yes.
audio is so good too. Um, and then Another book that I read that I think is probably going to be in my top 3 for the year. It actually reminded me a lot of, not like story wise, but it reminded me how I felt about The Will of the Many by James Islington.
Okay.
And it's called Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong.
Okay.
And it is so good. I don't even know where to start. Like, basically, it's kind of set in like a, I don't know, maybe like 50s or 60s type era. And the world, there's been this thing called the blight that has come, and it's this random flash of light that will completely disintegrate a person and will uncoil them, and their organs and everything will go flying out of their body because they'll
That sounds
literally
bad.
get,
Yes.
yeah, they'll get
Ooh.
stripped of like all their skin and everything. Um, and and so it's this thing that happens. It's like these random flashes of light, like lightning.
Okay.
And there's one city in the middle of all this called Brighthaven that has like this shield around it, and if you can make it across to where, if you can get within the dome of the shield, then you can stay, but you have to work. And oh, sorry, I got loud motorcycles going by.
That actually
um
made it through. Yeah.
did
Woo.
it? Okay, yeah.
That was really loud. Yeah.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. They drive up and down the street. But yeah, so it's, if you can get to the dome, then you're safe, but you have to work, and it's not like an easy life. Um, and so then within this city, you have the mages, like the mage class, who basically everything is powered by magic. And so everyone's goal is to get into the like higher echelons of the mage class. And it's really hard to say anything without giving away the big twist of the book, but I'll just say the thing that I can say is the way that the shield works and the way that the blight works is not what you think when you first start the book. It's not,
Okay.
it's just not what you think, and there's something that gets revealed about it, and it's a it's probably one of my favorite reveals of the year. It completely blew me away. So um yep, and then so Blood Over Brighthaven, I'm pretty sure that's in my top 3 for the year. And then I just finished Peace Talks, Dresden Files Peace Talks for the umpteenth time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not the first time you've
Yeah,
read
it's
that.
not the first time I've read it, but I just went through that because we're doing a podcast on it tomorrow. And then I'm currently rereading Red Rising.
Ah, great
Yeah.
series.
Mm-hmm.
We need
Mm-hmm.
that last book, but Zach says it's still like not till next year, probably.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
oh, come
Yeah,
on.
it's probably a ways away. Yeah. But you
Some
know
of
what
us aren't
does?
getting any younger. Come on.
I know, I know. Yeah. Is the next book the last book?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what he
Okay.
committed. This will be the conclusion of the series.
Ah, the Book Lounge. You should check it out. Because Red Rising is excellent. All of the like the sequel series and everything is all amazing.
You know, the
Um.
first trilogy is absolutely amazing. Book
Mhm.
4, you got to be prepared for. It's a shift, and some people quit at that
You
point. And that is so
you
wrong.
need
Don't quit. You got to go through knowing it's giving you another layer, another
yeah.
level of story.
Yeah, I think the key is to take a break between the first trilogy and the sequel series. I think you need a gap. I don't
It'll
think
be
you can
like 10
go.
years.
Yeah, yeah, like 10 years. No,
That's
I
what's
think
in the books.
I
For
I
those who
think
don't
I
know.
took I think I took like a 2-year break in between finishing the trilogy and starting the sequel series. Um, because everybody told me, they're like, it's a lot different. Like it's not like the same Red Rising. Like it is, but it's not. And so yeah, you just gotta be prepared for it. And exactly, the Book
Yep.
Lounge. That is
Yep. It's truth.
yep, that's exactly what I'm gonna bring up when we get to our topic. But yeah, it can make you feel a lot of
I
emotions.
went straight through all the books in the series.
Did you?
And I had been warned about book 4 because Zach read them ahead of me. So,
Yeah.
he told me, be ready for that. And it was like, oh, yeah, wow, that's a shift. But I knew it was coming. Oh, your friend is here. Hello.
There's the doggy. There's the doggy. Yes, sir.
You have a great doggy. I've been in person with that dog. It is a wonderful dog.
Yes. Yeah, he just got
Those big eyes looking at you. Come
I
on, pay me
know.
attention. Pay me attention.
Yeah, he just got done with cancer surgery.
Oh no!
Yeah, they just removed a lump of cancer from his arm.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. So
what a brave puppy!
I know, he was so brave. But yeah, what is the line to say? I have to start the Murderbot series soon. I keep reading great things about it, and I know you love that series.
We were just talking about that before we went on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Spencer hasn't read those yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to do I need to read them before starting the show, or can I just watch
You
the show?
not. You do not. You'll enjoy the show more if you read them first. But here's the thing. The first 4 books are all novellas. They're not long. You can go through them really fast. And I know how you listen to audiobooks, man. You would be through them in a blink of an eye. You hit the 5th book, it's the first full-length novel.
Oh, okay.
Then book 6 is a novella again. That's kind of a prequel to book 5. So it fits in between the opening sequence and book 5.
Okay.
And then you get the final book right now is book 7, which is another full-length novel. But the content on the TV show so far is only really that first novella. And they're pulling some things from some of the other novellas. But, really, if you really want to be prepped best, read the first novella, then watch the show.
Okay.
But you could power through that. And I read it on Kindle in a day.
Oh, okay.
It's not long.
Right.
And you can't stop reading. It's just, oh, so good.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out because it's because it sounds like something that I'd be interested in. I've heard about it on podcasts and stuff like that. It sounds like a good book. But speaking of TV shows, praise the Lord. Wheel of Time is canceled.
No, it's criminal that it was canceled. And I will tell you why.
Ding dong, the witch is dead.
I'm not shocked it got canceled. Zach and I had done an episode about our thoughts on season 3. And literally one of the things we talked about is this thing going to get canceled? It's not been renewed. So we're not shocked. But what's criminal that it got canceled is by far season 3 was the best of the
That's what I've heard
out there. But even more so is they're keeping that Rings of Power crap still going.
Right? I know.
Getting rid of the show that actually was building a fan base, so
yeah, how do you keep Rings of Power and get rid of it's probably just because they've sunk so much money into Rings of Power they have to try to make it work. I read an article
on it. Not only did they sink a ton of money into it to get the rights, they signed a 5-season deal.
No way.
They had to commit to do 5 seasons before they would get the rights to it. So, if they don't do 5 seasons, at least they have to pay a whole bunch more money. It's like, it was such a bad contract to get into that. Yeah,
that's brutal. That's brutal. Have you heard the rumblings about the Dresden Files show?
I have not. Please tell.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of information out there, but basically, right now we are the closest we've ever been to getting a new Dresden Files show. Jim
is involved then, because he said it's never happening again unless I have my fingers all over it.
Jim is involved, and he is actively. I guess it's been sold to somebody, and it's supposedly in the works.
Is it a TV series or a movie? A TV series.
Yeah, TV series. It's in the very early stages, but it sounds like it's happening.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah. And then Joe Abercrombie's The Devils got sold to. Did you see this?
I didn't.
To James Cameron. He's making The Devils.
Give it the Avatar treatment. No,
Yeah,
please, don't do that. Don't do
I
that.
know. Yeah, I'm like I mean, uh, the Titanic is one of my favorite
Give it
movies
the
of all
Titanic
time.
treatment. There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't stand the blue alien people.
I have to admit, I've only watched the first Avatar, which it was cool. It was a phenomenon, but I
Yep.
didn't need more Avatar. I just didn't. So
I know after the first movie, I was like, that was a great, like, one-time viewing
yeah,
experience.
yes.
And then it's like, he's like, I have plans for like 9 other movies. And we're like, why? Like,
The
what?
ACU, his Avatar cinematic universe.
Like,
No,
why?
no.
We don't need it. Like, stop trying to make fetch a thing.
Maybe he's running out of ideas.
I know. I
He's done
know.
a lot of good things, but the well runs dry, I guess.
Right. Um, but yeah, I think that's all the news for TV shows. You and I were talking about uh we were talking backstage about how the new season of Dexter is coming up. And that's going to be a big thing because they recently did um an origin show to show his origin story, and they cast like a young Dexter.
Mhm.
And that was phenomenal. It was perfect. It was so good. And then they're coming back with a new season in the actual like main series. So
Okay.
we're all really, really excited for that.
I need another season of Silo. Come on, get that out for us.
Yeah, I never watched the new season.
You never watched after the first season?
Nope. I think I saw the first episode of season 2, and I think I read the books.
Yeah. You didn't
And
like the books,
I
though.
didn't like the books, and so then when season 2 came around, I was like, and like I probably need to just like go and watch it because I liked the show way more than I liked the books. So I don't know why I haven't watched the second season, but yeah, the books kind of soured me on it a little bit.
And there will be a season 3 and a season 4, and that's it. That's the arc. That's what's set. That was renewed back in December for 3 and 4 to finish.
Okay,
So it's coming.
nice. Well, all right. Let's get on to our topic here because we came in here with a little idea of what we wanted to talk about. You actually took notes. I just kind of threw this together at the last minute.
I am a preparer. That is
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. So I want to go into, why I wanted to talk about this today. And I was driving to my job earlier, and I started thinking about, in Red Rising, and for those who don't know what this means, that's okay. You don't need to. But in Red Rising, Eo's song, the Song of Persephone, that she sings at the beginning of the first book. And it's this beautiful
Moving.
song of rebellion and of like being like proud of your people and that kind of thing. And there is a lady on YouTube named Lauren Conklin, and she had this will all make sense in a minute, I promise. But she had made a version of Persephone's The Song of Persephone, and it's so beautiful. She puts so much passion into it, and it's backed by this big orchestral score, and she sings it so passionately. And I was driving around, and for some reason it like popped into my head, so I quickly went to YouTube while I was at a traffic light. I wasn't doing it while I was driving, but I quickly went to YouTube, and I typed it in, and I listened to it on the way to the job site, and it it just made me feel so much, and it made me remember why I loved Red Rising so much. And I would listen to that song. I would read like a few chapters of Red Rising, and I would listen to that song, and the two are so completely interconnected for me, because it just went along with my experience when I was reading him for the first time.
Okay.
And so while I'm driving and I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, how passionate do you have to be about Red Rising to then go home and record this beautiful song that you put together, and the quality on it is so good. Um, and it made me think, like, man, people are really passionate about fantasy, and people get this way about all sorts of stuff. You see fandoms for TV shows, or like How I Met Your Mother. Now there's like, how many podcasts are there where they go episode by episode for How I Met Your Mother, or even you guys as your podcast going chapter by chapter talking about Wheel of Time, or the King Killer Chronicles podcast, they go chapter by chapter talking about King Killer. And it just made me think about how extremely fortunate I am, and you are, to be in this this time where we're all kind of connected via the internet. We can all share these experiences together, and everybody is so just passionate about this kind of stuff. And it made me start thinking, like, why do I love fantasy? Like, what are the things that I love most about fantasy, the parts of it that really get my heart racing and just make me feel like passionate for the genre. And so I wanted to take a little time today to chat about that, because at first this was just going to be a video where I wrote up a script, sat in front of a camera, and just like talked about like why I love fantasy. But then I was thinking, I'm like, well, I could do it as a live stream, and then I wouldn't have to edit anything. and then a secondary thought to that was, oh, I wonder if Jim is free. Like, maybe he'd like to talk about it. So
There
so
you go.
that's how we ended up here. Do you, before you go into like your specific thoughts on why you love fantasy, do you have any general thoughts kind of like that, of just seeing this passion in the fandom at large?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I had very little idea how much fandoms were out there until the pandemic, because I wasn't paying attention. Sure, there's certain people like certain books. I knew
Yeah.
that. But
Right.
then trapped in my house with this plague out there that wants to get us all, I'm spending time listening to podcasts and then starting my own and
Hmm.
connecting with other people. And the
Yeah.
fandoms are amazing. People just getting tattoos of their favorite
Yep.
books, and uh, I've got a
There's
big
my Dresden Files
see there
tattoo
it is,
right there.
there it is. I've got this big green screen behind me right now, but if I take it down, I've got all sorts of fantasy memorabilia back there, and
Yeah.
just loving to sink money into these things because it just brings us joy.
Yeah.
And it's fun to know there are other people that feel the same way, and we get to spend time just yakking about these things. You and I would not be friends except that we bonded over our shared interests here. This is how we found each other, and we've had hours
Right.
and hours and hours of conversations now because of these books.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's, we've talked about it a lot on the podcast, how um this genre of fiction, and just having the podcast and being able to network with people, it's made us so many real life friends. You and I have met in person a number of times.
Yep. Yep.
And so it's really cool to not only be able to share these experiences over the internet, but then get to meet people in real life. It was I think it was last summer or last fall. I got to meet Bookborn and Zach Argyle in person in Seattle. That was really cool. And I got to meet just like other podcasters that, may not necessarily be, in our immediate group on Twitter or whatever, but just like, just other people who podcast or other people that read
Sure,
fantasy
sure.
books. And
I've,
it's been
you
so
know, and
cool.
I've been out to Jordan Con, 3 different
Yes.
times. So there's these big fantasy conventions you can go be a part of. Jordan Con's one of the smaller ones, but I liked it because it wasn't overwhelming, and I
Right.
could get to know a group of people, and some of those are other content creators, like Drew McCaffrey of the Inking Out Loud podcast. Really cool guy. We've had him on our channel multiple times.
Yeah.
Connecting over things. And the Legendarium. I've met people with that channel at Jordan Con,
Right.
and other shows. And you and I have got together because we happen to both live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest
Right.
of the United States. That makes it a little more convenient.
Sure.
Some of the people I've done content with are in Europe.
Yeah.
Or over in Asia.
Right.
The internet is mind-boggling on how it allows us to connect.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, it's been so cool to be part of this community, and it makes me so proud to be a reader and to be able to, get to know some of these other people that are out there, or some of these other authors or whatever. It instills it instills a bigger sense of pride knowing that others are out there with the same interest, because before it may be something that you kind of kept in your back pocket and didn't really talk about a whole lot. I know I didn't. I never really told anybody that I was into like reading or anything. Like, who would care? But now my entire room is filled with books, and that's a map of Hogwarts on the wall right there. So
Well, yeah, most of the people in my circle professionally know I do a YouTube channel on fantasy, science fiction, and horror books, and a whole bunch of them have subscribed. There are hidden reading geeks everywhere.
Yep.
And this is freeing. This is empowering to be able to
Right.
say, "Oh, it's cool to like to read and to like to share your love of good books."
Yeah. At my previous job, there was this guy, shout out to Soren if you're watching this for some reason. I think he's subscribed to the channel, but yeah, he was our drywall guy, and he's this big dude that looks exactly like what you picture for like a Viking. Just like straight up like big muscly guy with a big like Viking beard.
Okay.
And I remember I told my boss, I'm like, I wanna learn some more about drywall. So he put me with Soren for a week. And we both had our headphones in, and finally he asked like, "Oh, like, what are you listening to?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's this book." And he's like, "Oh, what kind of book?" And I like briefly talked about it. He's like, "You listen to fantasy?" He's like, "I'm listening to Joe Abercrombie right now." And like we started talking about fantasy, and I was like, "Oh man, this is so..."
And then you have trouble shutting up, because it's so fun to connect with someone else who gets these same books.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like such a rarity to be able to do that. So yeah, it's been cool, being able to be in this community and see how much other people love fantasy. But yeah, let's go back and forth and maybe talk about what some of our favorite aspects of fantasy are. If you want to start, you can go ahead.
Well, one of the things that fuels my reading of fantasy is simply curiosity. There's so much out there that I haven't found yet. And what's going to be the next great author? The next fantastic story? I always want to know, what don't I know yet?
Right.
My TBR is still over 1,600 books long because I keep hearing from other people about other great books I need to try. And every last one, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to know about that. Oh, I'm really curious what that author is going to be like. So it's always feeding my interest in learning more stuff, discovering more authors. What's going to be my next favorite story? It just it fuels me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so you like the hunt and the occasional bite that you get where it's like, oh, this is a book that I just like happened to pick up and now it's become like one of my favorite stories. Um, that's
Yeah.
very much how I felt with Blood Over Brighthaven was, it had been talked about a lot kind of on the internet, but I hadn't really thought about picking it up. And then one day I was like, I'll try it, and I did. It's like one of my favorite books of the year. So it's always really cool kind of
Yeah.
getting those finding those little golden nuggets.
That's how I felt about discovering Stephen Graham Jones.
Yeah.
My wife had to actually tell me one time, Jim, that's the third time you've tried to tell me about this book. I heard you the first two times. I'm just so excited to talk about this
Yes.
author.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great.
How about you?
So yeah, so for one of mine, I don't really have like a bullet point list. But one of mine and kind of the thing that was making me think about this earlier is, I'm listening to this Song of Persephone, and I'm remembering all of these moments in Red Rising that actually had me like crying real tears. And you and I have talked about this. I think we may be a little bit different about in this, but I get very emotional when I read a very good book. Like anytime I'm reading King Killer or Red Rising or even parts of the Dresden Files, or certain parts of King's Dark Tidings, the big like emotional highs and emotional lows that come with that. I'm like, what else can make you feel this and be so attached to these characters that when something happens to them, or I was talking to somebody about this the other day in King Killer, there's not really, like, besides the big thing in the first couple chapters, there's not really a whole lot of character deaths in King Killer. But
Spoilers.
there's what?
I said spoilers. Oh, look out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those books where it's not the focus, like Patrick Rothfuss's focus isn't on like destroying all the characters or anything, but he finds a way to create these incredibly tragic and deeply sad scenes, just by having a character that you love feel a certain way. And one of my favorite scenes from King Killer, not really any spoilers or anything, but something happens and Quoth is back in his room and he's thinking about, what the past, few years have been like and everything that's happened that has got him to this point. And he's just laying in bed on his side and just crying. And Ari, if anyone knows who that character is, Ari comes through the window and just kind of like lays down with him and tells him that it's going to be okay. And that scene every single time without fail makes me cry. And so it's, nobody's dying, nobody's being tortured or anything like that, but it's so emotionally fueled. And I think what I'm getting at is what I love about fantasy is that feeling I get every now and then where I'm like, somebody wrote this, like a human being wrote this and like figured out a way to tell this story in a way that would evoke a certain emotion out of me and is correctly getting that reaction. And it absolutely boggles my mind when it happens. Like, does that ever happen to you where you're sitting there and you have this moment where you're like, a person wrote this, like a person thought about this
No,
and
we've
found
talked
a
about
way to
it
get
in
it
our
on the
panel
page?
too. What you've been saying has evoked three thoughts that I
Okay.
gotta go into. One is,
Yes.
I'm totally with you. This is one of the things I had in my preparation notes. The
Okay.
emotional impact of books.
Yes.
And yeah, literally, it's just words on a piece of paper,
Yes.
and it's evoking emotion in such powerful ways. I don't cry. I just don't. It's probably something wrong with me. It doesn't come out of me, okay? But there's that feeling when something is so deep and it hits so hard and you feel it in the chest. And maybe I get a little eye moisture. Okay,
Sure.
maybe just a moisture, but that feeling of
Yep.
that's wow, to evoke something like that.
Yeah.
So that is powerful. The second thing is you brought up King Killer Chronicle. I finally got Zach to start.
Oh,
He's
nice.
through The Name of the Wind. He's about halfway through, and we talked about it just a couple days back. And he said, I asked him, how's it going? He said, well, it's not what I thought I was getting into. I went,
really?
That's not the first time I've heard that. Tell me more. He says,
okay.
I thought it was going to be, this fantasy book. It's so much better. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
so that
God.
was that. But like you said, not a lot of deaths. Okay. That's not what Patrick Rothfuss is there for. But if you read the Indian Lake trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones, don't get attached to anybody.
Yeah, sure. I certainly like books like that too. I obviously we were talking about Red Rising, and there's so many characters that die.
And some of them are gut punch moments.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of that one massive space battle.
Mm-hmm.
And how right there.
Yeah.
No spoilers, but you know what I'm talking about. It's
I know exactly what you're talking about. And you mentioned a feeling that you get in your chest. And I this was one of my points that I was going to talk about, is kind of going along with my last point, I guess. But I get like a physical reaction to some of these books. And I forget, well, first of all, that thing that you're referencing, I was thinking about that while I was listening to Song of Persephone. And I remember when it happened, just this, this awful feeling. And I forget what I was reading. I forget what I was reading recently, but there was something that, I was at work or I was in the store, so I was somewhere public, and I'm listening to this book, and out loud I go, "Oh no!" and I throw my hand over my mouth, and it was like this. It like did not make its way through my brain. It just like came out, like straight out. Mm-hmm. And I love when a book gives me that kind of reaction, because it's so true. It's such an honest feeling.
And there's so many different feelings. We've talked about the gut punch moments, the sadness. Now you're like the oh no, the shock. But I mean, there've been times I wanted to throw a book across the room. I'm so mad at a character or mad at an author. How could you do that to those people? And then you go and get the book back and you keep reading, because you're so into it.
Yeah.
You get so carried away in these, and that's part of what I would bring as my next point of why I read these things, is that getting carried away, the vicarious escape. The rest of the world goes away, and I'm just immersed in a story, other people's lives, their experiences, and the time just flies by as I am totally with them.
Yes.
I love that experience. It's perhaps easier with audiobook for people to experience that, but I do it reading right there on my Kindle app. And I forget there's words. I'm actually reading physically. No, I see this whole thing happening in front of my mind's eye, and you just get lost. Yeah, that is so much fun.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely one of my points as well. Kind of the escape of it all. Mm-hmm. I have a thing where like I don't know if it's because I've been listening to audiobooks for so long, or maybe I just grew up in a generation where we always had headphones in or whatever. But I can't. I have a very hard time just sitting in silence unless I'm physically reading. If I'm physically reading, it's fine, but I just don't like to be alone with my thoughts, I guess. Maybe that's something I should go to therapy about or something.
No, just keep reading books.
Just keep reading books. But I've talked about this on the channel a few times, and you and I have also talked about it privately. But I had a very rough like teenage years into my early to mid 20s, that kind of area. I had been addicted to drugs and kind of been in and out of homelessness and stuff. And during that time, reading is something that I was able to like carry me away. And it was something that, on the nights that were really, really bad, or the nights where I was like sleeping in the back of my car or something, popping open a book and just, at least for a couple hours, just being able to be taken away to somewhere else where I get to meet these other characters that aren't living the life that I'm living. And obviously, my life is 100 times better now. I'm nowhere near like having to deal with any of that kind of stuff anymore. But in our day-to-day lives, no matter who you are, you're always going to go through rough times, and rough things happen, and so anything like that, it's really nice to have an audiobook or have a book that can just kind of take you away for a little bit. You can forget about your worries a little bit, and meet some other characters and stuff. But
Totally. Yeah.
Shad said, I love to dive into a world and characters and to be able to spend a lot of time with them. And I would say for me, King's Dark Tidings is a series that I keep going back to because the characters are so good. They literally feel like friends of mine. And I love to hop back into the series, even though I've read them probably dozens of times, literally. I love to go back just because I'm like, I miss my friends. Like I miss I miss these characters that I grew so attached to. And I just want to spend a little bit of time, with those people, even though I'm rereading the same conversations I've reread a bunch of times. It's like, I just want to spend a little bit more time in that zone, I guess.
Well, we do know that the best fiction is better on a reread. It
Yeah.
just always is. And
Yeah.
the really superior ones, you can read multiple times and you're still
Yep.
getting more nuance. You're still catching things that you're like, how did I not catch this the first 4 times?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm realizing with so when I listened to Persephone's song in the car and everything, I was like, all right, I gotta read Red Rising. So I started it today. I started my reread today. An interesting side note, I was like, I'm going to try something. And I held down the home button on my phone to bring up the Google Assistant or whatever. And I said, play Red Rising in Audible. And it actually opened Audible and started playing Red Rising. I'm like, I didn't know I could do that. So that's really
probably
cool.
AI making your life better.
I know. Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, so I started reading that, and I was like, there was so many things that I didn't catch the first time, like so many things. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that we were introduced to this character in the first book. I thought he came in later in the third book. No, you meet them way, way earlier. So there was tons of stuff like that where I'm just like, man, I love getting this fresh insight.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned fresh insight, which I'm going to segue into another thing I love about reading this sort of fiction.
Yeah.
And it's made me have a broader perspective on life as a whole.
Okay,
I
cool.
learn new ideas, new perspectives from the authors who are writing things for me.
Yes.
So ideas, thoughts, ways of looking at the world that are just outside my personal perspective. And to be able to get that makes me a better person.
That is such a good point.
Fantasy, it's still good. Fantasy is about life.
Yes.
It's about how we interact with the world, and there are themes that are telling us things, are helping us understand things.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the books I've read have totally enriched me as a person.
Yeah, for sure. That is such a good point, and so good to hear, because yeah, there's there's plenty of books that have done that, where maybe a book's theme is really focused on caring about the people that are in your life now, because someday, they won't be, or whatever. And those kind of books always really get me and make me want to treat the people around me better. They want me to, they make me want to, be more in the moment with people that I'm with, because you never know when they're going to be gone. I remember when I read Recursion by Blake Crouch. That book was such an absolute gut punch. It made me want to call my mom and just be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, just just wanted to check in for no particular reason.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are a number of books that have really done an excellent job of dealing with mental illness
Yeah.
and the struggle that people have with various different issues of mental health. That has not been my struggle, but I
Uh-huh.
know people who have had such struggles, including my daughter, who has dealt with such things over the course of her life. And some of these books that I've read have helped me understand her better, understand people and what they're struggling with in ways that I just can't personally understand.
Sure.
But you get into a story where you're emotionally connecting with a character and you're seeing what they're going through, and the light bulb goes on. You get
Right.
some things in ways that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think a great series for that is something like the Dresden Files, where there's so many characters that have vastly different personalities. And you look at someone like Molly, or even Harry himself, and the ways in which, because you're in his head all the time, right? And so you have these moments where, I don't want to liken it too much to mental illness, because he doesn't have that. And I've certainly, same thing, read books where I can sympathize with that more. But for someone like Harry, he's this guy that puts on this brave face all the time, and he's the sheriff of Chicago, and all this stuff. But you're in his head, and you see the doubts that he has, and you see the all the little encroaching thoughts that he has to deal with. And uh especially when I read those for the first time, and now too, but when I read them for the first time, I was like, oh, it's not just me that deals with these kind of thoughts, or
Mhm, mhm.
certain feelings about this. Like, one of my uh, some of my favorite conversations happen between Harry and Molly, where she's like, "What if I'm a monster? Like, what if I'm a terrible person?" And he's like, the really terrible people aren't the ones,
I never
like,
asked that question.
yeah,
Yeah.
they never ask that question, and they're also the ones that, like, actually carry out the deed and aren't just like thinking about it. Like, it's there's so many good life lessons. And part of my tattoo I got is one of Harry's fantastic monologues. He has so many great monologues about little, like, life, like subjects in life and stuff. But in White Knight, he has this great monologue about pain, and the different kinds of pain that we experience throughout our lives, and how it changes as we get older. And kind of going through adolescence, it kind of looks like a certain kind of pain. Going through your teenage years, it might be your first heartbreak. And going into your 20s, it may be your first time getting fired or whatever. And all these different kind of pains that we experience in real life, including physical pain. And he kind of ends it by saying, but you know what, pain, my tattoo says, pain is for the living, only the dead don't feel it. Pain is how we recognize that we're alive. Like that is part of the human experience, to feel pain and to grow from pain, and to even in some cases enjoy pain. Like he talks about the pain of standing in like an utterly perfect moment that cannot possibly last forever. And so I love when the Dresden Files or any book gets super real like that. And it's like, oh man, like you just made me feel a certain way about real life. Like, oh man, it's so good when it happens. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Another thing I love about books, about reading, about enjoying all these things is just the challenge. You know, there are books out there that I'm like, am I up to this one? You know, and to
Interesting.
take it on. Like Malazan, Stephen
Yeah.
Anderson's Malazan Book of the Fallen was all about the challenge. Now I found out I loved it and got
Okay.
so sucked into it, but it was not easy reading. This is not
Yeah.
light stuff. Your brain starts to hurt. You start leaking out your ears, you know, at times. And yet it just overwhelms you in some incredible ways.
Right.
Gene Wolfe's The Book of the New Sun, a challenge.
Yes.
I hated almost every moment of it. But
Yeah.
I powered through and I read it because I wanted to be able to justifiably complain about it. Because I didn't DNF it. I read it.
Yeah.
So that's one where I can talk about, yes, it's an incredible work of fiction. It's just some amazing writing. And I didn't like it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But always looking for what's the next challenge going to be. I
Right.
love the challenge of taking on a new author, a new series.
Mm.
Christopher Rucchio and the Sun Eater series is one that's waiting
Yeah.
out there that I haven't got to yet. And I hear lots of different things. I think it's going to be a challenge to dive
Yeah.
into that. And I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one that I had to give up on. And I would love to revisit it someday. Because I remember liking the first book. I thought
Oh,
the
man,
first
you were
book was
singing
pretty
its
good.
praises. You're the first one I ever heard about the series from because of your experience with the first book.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
You were
cool. I didn't know
You
that.
I think you had just finished the first book. You were like, this is so good, Jim, you got to try it. And that's when it went on my TBR.
Okay, yeah, that would have been years ago. That's
It was
crazy.
years ago. Yes.
But yeah, I read the first book, and yeah, I enjoyed it. And then I think I immediately started the second book, or maybe there was like one book in between that I read. And when I went on to the second book, I was just kind of like, I don't know why, but I'm just not like, this feels really dry. Like, I don't know why I'm just like not feeling this right now. And so I set it aside and never ended up going back. But I would love to go back at some point and give it another chance, because I know it's very beloved by a lot of people. It's got a huge following.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it might have been that it was complicated. I would say that it's a more difficult read than Red Rising or maybe Name of the Wind. I would say it's probably another like notch or two above the complexity of those stories. So, but if you can handle Malazan, you can for sure handle.
There's not much out there that's harder than Malazan.
Right. Yeah. And man, that's so funny, because like I don't think I enjoy a challenge. Like I don't think that, and that brings us to a great part of our discussion here, is the differences between, what some people value versus what other people value, because a challenge is not something I look for. Like I enjoy the complexities, quote unquote, of Harry Potter just as much as I enjoy the complexities, like the real complexities of The Name of the Wind.
Okay.
And I think for me, what it comes down to is themes. I really like themes in a story, especially when they, I feel like some books have like a very general theme that when you get to the end of the book, you're like, I kind of knew where this was going because it was following this theme. But some themes are twisty and turny and, really, really hard to kind of put your finger on where they start or stop, like White Knight, the book I was just talking about. It having kind of a general, well, not general in like a vague sense, but like more of like a twisty turny complicated theme of pain, in that specific installment of the Dresden Files. And it kind of culminates in this big monologue, and moments like that are great, where I get to the end of the book and I'm like, I really see what they were going for. I really see the message that the author wanted to get across with the theme in this book, whether it's obvious or super complicated or whatever. But yeah, I think I care about that more than a challenge, because because like maybe there are books that I've read where I was like, that was too simple, like that book was like too simplified. Like I'm not, it's not like I don't recognize that, but I don't know if I specifically look for like a challenge. I don't know.
Some challenges, it's just you get a high from it.
Yeah.
To get through the 10 books of Malazan Book of the Fallen, which were all thick chunker books,
right,
it took me a year and a half.
Yeah.
I couldn't go straight through them. You needed to take breaks between some of these books. It was just so much to process. But that moment when I'm turning the page and closing the book for that last book, it's like a runner's high, but it's for readers, man. I just freaking did it, the milestone,
right.
That's what some of these, now it's got to be a good book still, the challenge needs to be worth it,
right?
I'm not out there bragging about reading Book of the New Sun, no, I didn't like it, but for Malazan, I'm like, the Wheel of Time is like that too, because it's 15 books long when you count the prequel. Not everybody has the lasting power to make it through. So that's a challenge.
Yeah, it certainly is. Do you find yourself when you're reading Malazan, are you like taking notes? Are you like?
No, I'm not a note taker on those sorts of things. I'm just processing, and I will go to the Malazan wiki for some things. Specifically, what I use it for is when I'm reading something in any of these Malazan books, and I'm like, I know I came across this before, but I can't pull it up. I'll go wiki it so I can build the connection that my mind is not making. So instead of note taking, I'll go back and double check things.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Which is really dicey because I hate spoilers. So I got to look up things, making sure I'm not seeing what's coming,
Right. Yeah. So I guess something that would also be on my like bullet point list is something I love, and I guess this could be in any series, like not just fantasy, but it's like it's a very prominent part of fantasy and sci-fi and stuff like that, is being able to I guess kind of see the way everything ties together with like foreshadowing and like the way just like certain series just kind of click together perfectly. And my favorite example, and I know people have really mixed feelings on this trilogy, but for me, it's the Night Angel trilogy. And you get to the end of that trilogy, and the way that it all culminates in such an epic and beautiful way, it's like you literally get to that moment and you can look back at the specific events of the previous 3 books, including the one that you're on, and see how like every little decision got you to this moment. Like there was
Sure.
so many little things that had to happen to get everybody in this room together doing this thing. And it's just one of the best feelings I've ever had in fantasy. Just that huge climax at the end
Sure,
of Night
absolutely.
Angel. And certain series do that so well. There's certain moments where you're at the peak of the end of the trilogy or the end of the series, and the Powder Mage trilogy did it too. And you can just kind of like, you're like, while you're at the height of this crazy story, you can just kind of look back and like see everything that came before you and just be like, we're here. Like everything got us to this moment, and it is so exciting. And it's something that only like a master craftsman can do. Like it is like
I totally get that.
Yeah, some of the best authors are able to pull that off, and those are I see it more in trilogies, but I'm sure like in series like Wheel of Time and stuff, like it happens too.
But that's where if you get around to reading Tad Williams' Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy, you will experience exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, okay, cool.
You're hitting the end of book 3, where everything comes home. And it's like, all these pieces all fit to this. Yeah.
Okay.
It's incredible.
Okay. Cool. I'll put that on my list for sure. What about you? You got any more bullet points?
This one applies specifically to audiobooks.
Okay.
We have different modes.
Let's talk about audiobooks.
Enjoy things, but audiobooks, especially in fantasy, but also science fiction and horror, because I enjoy those speculative fiction genres also.
Yeah.
They help pass the time for things we've got to do that maybe aren't as enjoyable.
Right.
I do a lot of driving for work, and I love driving for work because of all the books I get to enjoy.
Yep.
I don't mind chores around the house because I'm washing the dishes and I'm listening to a story. I was out trimming trees in my yard, and I'm listening to a great story. And time just flies. I go out to exercise. For me, that's going for a walk. This morning I went for a 4-hour walk. 4-mile walk.
Okay. I was like, dang, dude. Do you have blisters on your feet or?
I have done a 4-hour walk. It's doable, but you gotta work up to it. But that time just flew by because I'm lost in a good book.
Yeah.
And so these are important things. You got to drive places. You need to exercise. You got chores you got to do. And they're all so much more pleasant because of audiobooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a great bullet point. I definitely have one about audiobooks too. But first, I thought I'd mention, so we had someone on the channel recently for a Creator's Corner, and he is not a booktuber. He's not even a reader. He's actually the lead singer of a band called Minority 905. I've been a fan of theirs. They're like a YouTube band.
Okay.
And I reached out to him, and I was like, I know this is super random, but I'd love to just like talk with you for a couple hours. And so he came on the podcast, and he talked with us. And there are quite a few of, some of my favorite vocalists for bands, whether it be Anthony Kiedis and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or Derek Whibley from Sum 41, or Mark Hoppus from Blink-182. They've come out with these autobiographies. And so I was telling him about it, and I'm like, man, you should read some of these. They're so good. Like, I love these autobiographies from these, big name, rock stars. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, I don't really read. Like, maybe I'll get to it. And so I ended up talking with him offline, and I was like, do you listen to podcasts? And he's like, yeah, I listen to podcasts. And I'm like, then you can do audiobooks.
Yeah.
And so we started going through. He's like, well, when would I listen? And he's like, do you just listen while you're driving? And I'm like, let me tell you, dude, when you're doing the laundry, listen to your audiobook. When you're driving anywhere, listen to your audiobook. When you're if you work somewhere where you can listen to headphones, listen to your audiobook. I'm like, once you start looking for the time to listen to your audiobook, you will find it. And so sure enough, he started listening and he got back to me and he's like, man, he's like, I just started realizing that I had all this time to listen to audiobooks that I never realized before. And so it got him into audiobooks. So I'm like, that is so, that is so cool.
Yep.
But for me, the audiobook thing is just finding amazing narrators. Like you have Nick Podell, you have Tim Gerard Reynolds, who does Red Rising. You have Stephen Pacey, who does First Law and The Devils and all those Joe Abercrombie books. And some of those narrators, talk about being whisked away to a fantasy world and escapism and all that. Like they have a way of really bringing it to the forefront of your mind. And that is, I am so in awe of some of these narrators, and you're missing out on Jeff Hayes doing the Dungeon Crawler Carl, because it's the same thing. He does such a good job. But yeah, some of these narrators, James Marsters, who does the Dresden Files.
Yep.
Yeah, they all have a way of just taking you away to throughout this wonderful story. So yeah, audiobooks were a game changer for me. Like my reading spiked way up when
I read so much more because of audiobooks. Yeah.
Yep.
We've talked about a lot of things of why we love reading and what it does for us, and it's entertainment value that just brings so much enjoyment to our lives. I haven't even mentioned how it's a great stress reliever.
Oh yeah.
Some things we've talked about, getting away from things, the vicarious experience, that's stress relief. And reading is proven scientifically to lower stress. You're not stuck dealing with all the things you're trapped by all the time. No, you can get away. Yeah. But the one thing we haven't said anything about yet, that is kind of my last point, is I love reading books so I can talk to other people about them, including making content. That's why we have YouTube channels. We can share these things with other people. We can talk about them.
Yep.
We love getting together with people in the real world as well as virtually.
Yeah.
And we become part of fandoms, part of something with other people because we share a love for these books. That's definitely something I really love about reading.
Yes, absolutely. Like there are so many books that I would not have read if it weren't for somebody saying, like, read this so we can talk about it on the podcast, even Sam, our newest co-host, she had never read Harry Potter before. And I was like, read Harry Potter so that you can do it on the podcast. And she became, completely enamored with it. And
I say that about her, but you'd only read it the year before.
Yeah, I know. But what was funny is that she was like a huge Harry Potter fan. Like she had watched all the movies and everything.
Okay.
But she had never read the books. And so that kind of forced her to read it. But we see that all the time on the podcast where somebody wants to discuss a certain book. And so it's like, okay, well, I wasn't planning on picking this book up, but I guess I will so that we can, have a good discussion on the podcast.
Yep.
And, it introduces you to so many more books. And, we talked about the community aspect of it, just being getting to meet so many amazing people that you would never have met before and getting to have some great discussions.
For Fantasy for the Ages, we have a Discord channel, and we've got one channel on it that's dedicated just for what are you reading, and everybody who's in there is always putting in the books they've found and they're trying and then rating the books. And so that's part of how my TBR keeps growing. All these great recommendations that others on our Discord are making. I love that opportunity just to share what you're finding. What are you liking? Yeah, it's great.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I love that. I wish yeah, your guys' Discord is really popping off. Like you have a lot of people in there that are talking a lot.
Yeah. I mean, we've got some that are always very, very much so, and others that just kind of hover in the background. You know, they're more trolling it in the good way. You know, they don't want to really get too involved, but they're reading the stuff people they're putting out there. Yeah. And there's a place for that too. That's all good.
Yeah, that's super cool. Well, yeah, I guess to kind of wrap up, you know, fantasy, you know, we talked about the escapist aspect of it, but for me, what it really comes down to is my biggest point is probably my first one, where for me, at the end of the day, the reason I love fantasy is because the way, you know, when an author writes a character really, really well, you get so invested in that character, or you get so invested in the story or whatever, and it just has a way of like really tugging on your emotions. Like, you know, people on the podcast give me a lot of crap for you know, getting all weepy with some of these fantasy books, but for me, that is the ultimate sign of like a really, really, really good book. Is if it can get like a physical, emotional reaction out of me. Totally. You know, I think that says so much about a book, and I kind of live for those moments. I love those moments where I'm like, wow, I wasn't expecting to be crying at, you know, 8 o'clock in the morning on my way to work or whatever, but here we are. Yeah, I love it when that kind of stuff.
Give me a minute.
I know, yeah. Yeah, there's been times, I forget what I was reading. It was literally only like 2 or 3 months ago. And I forget what it was, but I was reading something, and it hit me so hard that I was working with somebody like in close proximity, and I started like, I'm like trying to hold back tears, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it.
Oh man.
Those moments are awkward, but I think they're so real and true, and they make me, you know, love the genre so much.
Yeah.
It's so worth it whenever that does happen. So yeah, I love this genre. I just wanted to, you know, get together and talk about, you know, all the things that are so great about fantasy, because you know what, Jim, the internet is full of people who like to complain about stuff. I'm one of them. And so, you know, it's nice to get together and just have like a nice positive.
Let's just talk about the things we like. Positivity. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thanks for inviting me on. This was been a blast.
This has been so nice. It was so great to see everybody, you know, in the chat here. We got Shad Zaman talking, and we had the Book Lounge and David, all these guys. Thank you so much for being here and chatting with us. And Carly, I'm trying to find, there she is. Yep. Thank you for joining us.
Great to have these people with us. Yep.
So, all right. Well, that is going to wrap us up for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow with Gabe and Gavin. If you guys would like to join our Patreon, you can see us discuss Peace Talks, Dresden Files Peace Talks live if you would like to. Or you can wait a couple weeks and it'll be out on YouTube and you can see it then. But if you'd like to support the channel, the link is in the description, and at pretty much any tier as it is right now, you can watch us record live and hang out just like you were tonight. But other than that, we have our Discord link down there, and we have Twitter down there. So if you'd like to join us over on those platforms, you're more than welcome. Jim, his channel, Fantasy for the Ages, is linked down below. You can find all of his stuff down there as well. And yeah, Jim, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Always a pleasure. Anytime, Spencer. And we look forward to the next time we're going to have you over on Fantasy for the Ages as well.
Yes, bring me on sometime, and we'll have to we'll have to figure out when we're gonna do Rhythm of War. Yeah, yeah, we'll figure that out.
Totally.
But anyways, good night, everybody. We will see you next time